Okay. Does the teleconference have... Oh, all right, hold on. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing? First of all. sorry for being a little bit late. I have made some changes to my streaming setup, which involved hooking up a VR headset and... Oh, there he is. 12-month gift subscription courtesy of Pokinator has entered month 3. Just think of all the super mean things I could say in this message about EJ and Chad, and he can't do anything about it. Yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want. The thing is that I don't listen to you. You know, what kind of VR headset? It's a CV1 Oculus. It's the same headset that I was using before. Hey, Bears, what's going on? But yeah, guys, I should be able to get this going, but I may have a problem here. I need to test something, or maybe I could just ask Creeper. Do you have the press conference up? Is it playing the hold music? Because if it's playing the hold music, then I can't hear it. But if it's not, then we're okay. I think I may have. No, this is an older Oculus. I don't. No, they don't need a Facebook login. See your last. The teleconference music has started playing. Okay. All right. It's the hold music. Okay. Give me 1 second then. Something is going wrong with the... Well, I hope it's not the capture card. All right. Sound settings. Sound... Oh crap. It is not picking up any sound output. But hang on 1 second. Here, can you guys see the screen? Hold on. I gotta mess with something here. I'm not picking up any sound. Unless I have it muted. Okay, so here, if you look right behind me, this computer picks up the tab, but I can't listen to it. And if we look in the audio settings, if we go over here, we go over to my other desktop. This is the desktop on the encoding ring. Capture card is not reading anything. And we have it set to listen to that device. So here, maybe we just need to jog its memory. Okay. It's set to the Oculus audio, though, is it not? Yeah. Yeah, it might be. Here, let me just listen to the headset here. Yep, I can hear it there. Thank you. Yep, that's it. All right, so I need to go over here and go to sound settings and set that to
here at Kennedy Space Center for the cryo demonstration test on Wednesday, and it was very interesting. I think we've learned a lot. We accomplished all our primary objectives for the cryo demonstration test. We were able to look at the loading operations. We made a tweak in that, and I think we were successful.
I'm in listening mode, dudes.
We did the kickstart. We did the pre-press, and we did a chill down. A stable replenish. And then during all those events, we actually monitored the vehicle and adjusted a few parameters, and that was all actually very successful. So we're excited about that. We have some good experts here. Of course, Dr. Blevins, as you all know, is going to talk a little bit about that. And I just want to make sure people understand Brad McCain. I've known Brad for a little while now. How many shuttle program loading operations did you do, Brad?
Yeah, I did 108 of the 135 shuttle missions, but
Whoa!
also 200 tankings. Cryogenics is where I started.
Yeah, so Brad's our kind of cryogenic expert. He's here to kind of keep us straight and work with John to provide you information. Did you guys hear that?
Over 100 shuttle
tanks. And then
tanks.
Mike Bolger is going to talk a little bit about where we are on the weather. We take this a step at a time. We have to watch weather and incrementally make decisions as we go along. We'll watch the direction, the intensity, and the timing of the weather pattern. And we'll make the decisions when we make the decisions. So Mike will talk a little bit about that. But overall, we feel that we really got some great data from the test. We accomplished what we were hoping to accomplish. You saw Charlie talk about it afterwards. We were pretty excited with the information we got from the test. And with that, I'm going to talk it over to Dr. Blevins. He's going to talk to you too about it for a second.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for your interest in the rocket. I will report, as Tom said, that we had a very successful tanking test. All of the tanks of the vehicle, all four, fully topped off. We were able to do some things that we won't have to do again, dial in some things that we intended to do even on launch day that were left over from previous wet dress rehearsals. So it was a very successful day. I think all the secondary objectives were actually met, not just the primary objectives. And so it was a really successful tanking test. So I'm glad that we were able to fit that in on Wednesday with weather and everything. Also, the vehicle's looking good. The vehicle's ready for launch attempts coming up. We continue to look at life-limited items. We continue with high-definition cameras to scan over the vehicle to make sure that everything looks good, any of the TPS and all that. We also continue to do walk downs and just prepare the vehicle for the flight ahead. With that, I'm going to pass it to Brad McCain. As Tom said, he's not just a VP, he's a cryo expert, and so he's here to handle your tanking questions, but really glad to have his expertise the other day in the tanking test. Brad?
Thanks, John, and again, I'm glad to be here to talk about the cryo test as well. It's I never get tired of talking about cryogenics, and they probably get tired of me talking about cryogenics. But again, between the second launch attempt and the tanking test we did on Wednesday, I think that do want to compliment the team on doing a great job of making the necessary adjustments out in the field as well as the
guys. Oh, hey, get back here. Stream, is that on their end or what? Fresh.
Cryogenics.
There we go.
And they probably get tired of me talking about cryogenics. But
Discovery,
again, between the second launch attempt and the tanking test we did on Wednesday, I think that do want to compliment the team on doing a great job of making the necessary adjustments out in the field as well as the execution.
It keeps buffering for me. Sorry, I don't have chat open for a second here. Hey, Bagel Buddy. I'll give it a refresher here. Cryogenics and cryogenic accessories, boy. It's their end. Okay.
Cryogenics. And they probably get tired of me talking about cryogenics. But again, between the second launch attempt and the tanking test we did on Wednesday, I think that do want to compliment the team on doing a great job of making the necessary adjustments out in the field as well as the execution.
Yeah, stream took a dump. Anyway, guys, if you're wondering why I keep looking up there, that's the reason. I put a fourth monitor in. So I could get this thing working. I needed to get it ready for Friday Night Racing. It's so I can overlay the chat over the headset and not have to like peek up and look at chat. I needed more screen real estate to do that. So I installed that monitor up there. I'm pointing at it right now. It's that one up at the top with the shuttle and the space station. That's up there. And it's connected into the computer that says Hoonigan on it. That's the gaming PC. That's the encoding rig. That's my old gaming PC. That is an old crappy DVI monitor. It's fine. I don't really need it for anything. You guys will never see that monitor. But what I'm doing here is I'm trying to get the audio up on the top monitor for NASA if it ever decides to go. Thanks, Farm. I'm trying to get the audio up there, up at the top, if the press conference ever decides to do press conference things. Yeah, it's gone. No good. I'm trying to get the audio up there so I can, I mean, I can't capture that monitor up there because it's DVI and it's not going into the capture card. I mean, I suppose I could duplicate the display to a DVI, to the HDMI if I really wanted to. But yeah, I'd have to switch it back and forth or get an HDMI splitter or something. Yeah, that's an old monitor. Believe it or not, that monitor is one of the monitors that I got for this computer when I originally switched to a 3-monitor setup in 2016, I think. I got it for nothing. It's a DVI monitor. It was like $40 or something. I have a second one, and that mount that it's on back there, I have 2 monitor mounts. This one is for the 3, that one is for the 1, but that one has a second arm, so I could put another monitor over here, but the light is in the way. So I could move the light out and have 2 monitors up there, but yeah, I don't really need that. All we need is 1, and I kind of ran out of time, so. That's an Echo Gear 3-monitor mount core space, and this one is just something that I bought off Amazon. Now, guys, if you're wondering what's going on, the press conference is straight up dead. You guys let me know. Let me know if that thing comes back. Novus, I don't have any connection, and I really wanted to hear what that cryo expert was saying, which kind of annoying, but it looks like it's a YouTube issue.
Cryogenics.
Oh.
And
It's just playing the same thing over and over again. It's YouTube, not NASA. NSF is down. No way. Here, let me try another video. Okay. Try NASA TV. Starbase Live. Wow. There's nothing. I wonder if this is... Yeah, Drummer, that's a good idea. I'll go to NASA's Twitch channel. Nope. Nope, not streaming. Damn. Ads load just fine? Yeah, of course they do. Why wouldn't they? But anyway, yeah, guys, what I'm trying to do is get the VR headset set up for Friday Night Racing tonight because I got the racing rig. I put together a racing rig and I finished it today. I needed to make a custom bracket to mount the shifter. But, well, I needed to drill some holes. It's not really a custom mount or anything. Astor Blend and then conference for space news. Well, let's sit. I want to hear this. All YouTube streams are down. Yeah, YouTube took a dump. I don't have a sim pit per se, Barak, but I'm not sure if that's even the right way to say that. But here, take a look. Here, I'll make me bigger here. There's gonna be a portal again here, but here, take a look. It's down here. I have the Supra chair mounted to it, and yeah, there's a portal right there for some reason. The Supra chair is mounted, and then I drilled some holes in that bracket right there to get the shifter working correctly. Yeah, YouTube Live just took a complete dump. Interesting. Go through the portal? I can't. Even better, you could do flight sim with that. One at a time, man. One at a time. Hey, guys that have like huge screens and multiple monitors, like more than just like 3 monitors like this, do you lose the mouse? I'm losing the mouse really easy. I'm like, where'd it go? You lose the mouse all the time? I suppose it's not a bad problem to have. Yes, increase the mouse speed. Nah, Drummer, when I go synergy to the different monitors, it always takes a second. So it's not seamless. It always takes a second to understand that I switched to the other computer. which is weird, but yeah, I often end up losing the mouse. Turn on mouse trails. Just get a cat? Yeah, we find the mouse easily that way. Well, that was a bad time to use YouTube Live, yeah. Presser is holding due to the YouTube's issues. Okay. Looks like YouTube Live is not working right now. Constantly spinning spirals in the search pattern. Oh, all right. All right. Yeah, infinite buffer and loading. Interesting. Are we going to scrub the teleconference? It's not a good sign. Well, do you see the light? Yes, I see the light. Anyway. Today I learned that hourglassing is a verb. Anyway, fellas, I don't necessarily need help fixing this problem, but there's one thing that I ran out of time. I ran out of time to figure it out. How do I capture that HDMI headset with the capture card? I'm going to need a splitter, right? Would it be an HDMI splitter? So I can change, so I need multiple inputs in one output to the capture card, right? But is it a split or a duplicate? Yeah, see, drummer, I did something to get this headset working, but when I did it, it was with, the last time I had the VR headset hooked up was like 2019. So if I had a splitter, how would the splitter work? And what connection would I have to split? Because right now I have 4 plugs into the gaming computer. Okay? 4 things are hooked up. I have a display port that's going to my main monitor. I have DVI that's going to the secondary monitor now. I have HDMI out. I have just, no, a display port to HDMI that's going to the capture card, and then the VR headset is plugged in. The main monitor is DisplayPort, but I have DisplayPort, HDMI to DisplayPort, and DisplayPort to HDMI adapters. There's also a video window that gets created when you start playing. You could capture that. Is that how we did that, Tessa? Couldn't you use the new display to duplicate the headset? All right. Yeah, no, we did this some way. It's not that I can't get it working, it's that I forgot how to. I forgot how to do this. So I suppose in the meantime we could mess with it. And here, let's take a look. It should work through just the regular. If it's making a window to capture, it should just work. It just works. You guys can't hear that, can you? No, this is not a hard problem to solve. So, okay. Settings. General. Are we going to watch the SLS conference in VR? YouTube Live is having a problem, but yeah, if I can, I will. Now it's playing sound through here. Hold on. Now I need to check something. Can you guys hear this?
Provided the foundation
Yes,
for the mathematical description of orbits. They explain why a satellite stays in orbit.
So can I listen to it? Is it playing through both headsets? It is. It's playing through both headsets.
Newton's...
All right, cool. Cool. Now, how do we... yeah, I have the orbital mechanics video teed up. All right. How do we get this to output? Let's see. If you're capturing an audio source, can't you just capture the same source for the video? Yeah, I have it playing through both. It's going through both of these things. These headsets are working, but I don't know. Can you take these things off? If I could take them off, that'd be really good, but I don't see. I gotta remember it. I gotta remember all this. Change it to metric. That'll fix it. Here we go with the metric mafia. Take off these things. The headset. I don't need it. You can get the Oculus Spectator View program in files for Oculus. That should automatically just pop up, should it not? Like, here, let me see if the headset's working. Yeah, the headset is working. Now, I just need a way for you guys to see this. Presser is back going even without YouTube working. It's a phone conference. You have to start a game first for the window to show up. We'll test this. Let's test this now. I gotta get the controllers ready to go here. No, batteries. Batteries and the controllers are kaput. Kaput! Stream is back. I don't see anything. It looks like YouTube's live streaming service is totally done. Huh. You should be able to open it even without the controllers. Twitch is alright. Yeah, of course. Okay. Why doesn't NASA have an independent stream through their website? Because raisins? What game has VR in it? Hang on. Start Steam VR. Give me 1 second. Okay. It's not seeing the left sensor. Crap. Burbs. All right. Okay. All right, here's the test. Ready? I don't know if it's unplugged or my USB ports are croaked. You guys see this? You see it, right? Yep. Most excellent. Oh, hey. Sweet. 619's up there. Shu is doing something, too. There's a Seto and Flight Sim right there. Good, good, good. All right. That seems to be working. It's over there. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a companion cube. All right. Okay. When did you get a VR headset? I've had one for a little while, dudes. It's a CV1. Viewer gave it to me. A very, very nice viewer gave it to me. CV1 have Oculus Home. You can do one of those NASA VR things floating through the ISS or walking on the moon. I need batteries for the controllers before we go any further with anything. But yeah, we could. Forget how to, I don't even remember how to take the batteries out of this thing, dude. Oh, there we go. I found it. Have you ever played Elite Dangerous? No. No, I don't play that game out of fear of never being seen again. I get lost in the universe. Many things use a normal controller. Yeah, I know. Okay. Come on, you. Need batteries. You ever play No Man's Sky? I played it with Brimo off stream. A little bit, not too much of it. Okay. I need batteries before we go any further. Guys, the reason why if you're coming in here for the NASA press conference, YouTube Live is not working. It is totally down, and that was the only way we get a feed unless I call into them. But even if I call into the press conference, there's no way for me to capture the audio. NASA Space Flight. Okay, so Starbase Live is up. I don't have that wheat. There's no quick and easy way for me to get the audio, and it looks like NASA did not restart that stream. Maybe just be nice to read Chris G's Twitter. Yeah. I don't really like getting information secondhand like that, but yeah, if that's the only way. All right, let's see what we got. I'll cry demonstrations, having teleconferences holding. That's where we were. Very minimal procedures will be needed for Tuesday on launch day. All secondary objectives as well as primary objectives were met for the tanking test. Okay. They're back. From a technical perspective, the teams are optimistic about a launch on Tuesday. Weather officer, strategy is to buy time to get better convergence of models. If they need to roll, it needs to be a couple of days to get to the VAB. Meeting again tonight at 5 p.m. Decision tomorrow morning, afternoon to roll or stay the course. Good for winds. SLS is good for winds up to 75 knots. Question time. Rollback criteria is winds no higher than 40 knots, so they need to be back before that. But again, they're watching, but no decision until tomorrow morning or afternoon. Storm path is still dynamic and shifting. You don't want to roll back if it's safe to stay on the pad. Yeah, guys, this is in regards to a hurricane that's coming up the coast. Yeah. Good for winds up to 75 knots. Yeah. I don't think I've heard anything about the range just yet. I'm going to keep refreshing, see if that stream comes back. Predicted to be a possible Category 3 by the time it reaches Southwest Florida on Wednesday. Storm is still currently north of Venezuela. Yep. No, they can roll in 75 knot wind. Uh, Probability of violating weather constraints for that's through the 23rd. NASA's working. Foz, link me to whatever you're seeing, please. I got nothing. Let me check the Chris G thread. See what we got. What you looking at? My other monitor. I have a 2-monitor setup, so for VR, Benno. I have Chris G's tweet train up there right now, and this on that screen right there. Okay. Here, we'll copy this and bring this down here. Okay, Bill Harwood asks how the SEALs can do the exact opposite of what they're designed for. NASA answers that they did not know how to start the shuttle main engines at first, but do now. Something got lost in translation there. When did you add the 4th display? This morning. Yeah, this morning I added it, yeah. I kind of wish I could put it right here, but then maybe I could move the microphone right there. It might screw with the audio a little bit. But it would be nice if I could bring that monitor down so I'm not staring at the ceiling. Yeah, I have it so I can capture HDMI, or capture the VR headset on this display, and I can have a pop-out window for Twitch chat right here. And then that I can overlay that on the headset. Make an adapter plate. Huh? I don't need to make an adapter plate. I can just move it. I say we watch the recording when it gets uploaded tomorrow. Did they say it would be uploaded tomorrow? I thought you can't move it. Can't move what? I can move the monitor down on the thing. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, no, Ando, it's all right. Yeah, I'm going for the mission control look. Going for the mission control look. You're almost there with 5 monitors? Guys, actually, this is almost not enough screen real estate, dude. It's almost not enough. Having 6 displays would probably be good enough. Because you guys got to remember, like, I have Discord up. I need to have the music window up for playing music. I need to have the Streamlabs thing. I need to have Streamlabs up so I can see tip messages. I need to have a main monitor display. A secondary monitor display would be good, but right now the secondary monitor display on the encoding rig is where I put the music, Discord, and everything. I clear that monitor out if we need to do like the double box or whatever. And then over on the right-hand side over here, I have OBS and chat, right? Where are the people gone from the control center? They're working. They're just working. I wanted to change it up this year, style, so I... Fever subsided, no coughing, but I have no voice. Yeah, it's going to be like that for a little while, Chief, which kind of sucks. The VR headset is there for cars, for Friday Night Racing, Benno. I'm pretty damn convinced that the reason why I'm so inconsistent with driving is the freaking literal bus driver stance that I drive race cars with. Like, so I have the rig behind me, and I still need to set up the camera for the stupid rig. But yeah, I'm gonna take pedal cam. Oh. I'm going to take the pedal cam and hook that up. You got a seat in a wheel rig? I've been building it, Pop. Yeah. I've been building it, and don't get me wrong, it's a Murata racing rig off of Amazon, but I've modified it a lot. I did a lot of changes. I made a lot of changes to that thing with the shop. It has upgraded brackets, so it's not as, like, I put a lot of, I have custom metal pieces in certain areas to hold the thing in place. I drilled some custom holes around the mount so I can mount stuff in certain places. Do you need an engineer for Friday Night Racing? I have questions. Question? Yeah. So, Pop, I also have a seat for my Mark II Supra. I made custom brackets with, I bought metal down at the hardware store, strips of metal, and I made a custom bracket, so I have an actual car seat bolted to the rig right now. I do need to figure out ways to kind of get it to stay good. It's great. It's really strong forward and back, but I need to box it. The seat likes to move left and right. Not too bad, but it'll eventually fatigue the metal. So, yeah. Yeah, we need to triangulate it, Synerd. But I was thinking of just putting threaded rod through. Like drilling a hole on one side, drilling a hole on the other side, and putting threaded rod through. It wouldn't triangulate it, but it would strengthen it up. Weld it? Nah, I don't need to weld it. We could just bolt it. Brace on the back of the back center of the chair. Could do that, Finos, but it's a car seat. And I got the adjustment rails, the forward and back rails on the seat working. And the seat reclines and everything, and it has lumbar adjustment and stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a Toyota knockoff of a Recaro, which is actually pretty cool. Oh, nice, drummer. That's pretty cool. I'm not saying I'm jealous, but I'm kind of jealous. Yeah, well, I finally had the space, Finos. I've had the front part of this rig for a really long time, but in that freaking broom closet of an apartment, I really didn't have the space for it. Now I have plenty of space. Oh yeah, I got all the space in the world. Yeah, we could weld, Synerd, but most of this is bolt together, so I kind of want to stick with the bolt together motif. I don't want to weld anything together, just in case I could, like, if I want to reconfigure it later. So everything, I'm just drilling holes and bolting things together. I'm using, not using like grade 8 or anything. It's just bolts. Yeah, everything is bolted together. Yeah, so much room for activities, dude. I got 1,000 square feet. Do what I freaking want to. Actually, it's closer to 1,200 square feet now that the office is here. Because the office is about 12 by 12, give or take. It's like 12.5 by 13 or something. Yeah. And then the garage is 30 by 40. Yeah. But yeah, the press conference is poo-poo. Let's see if we can refresh the tweets. Okay, NASA is going to work with the rollback preparations to an extent with preparations for launch. Dual operations, this is how they do it. Plans are in place for all this stuff. They're going to prep the rollback team if they need to. Space in your house is like money. You can never have enough. Yep. 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 Here, let me, guys. All right, headphone users, real quick. This, like, is that good? Is that audio still okay? It should be hard to hear me because it's behind a monitor. It's a little more distant. Yeah. Should keep that right there. Yeah, so that's like right where I want my monitor to be. We gotta, if I could just, so like the way that the microphone arm is extending, where's the camera? The camera's right there. The way that the microphone arm is extending, is not, I can't, if I could shift it about 6 or 7 inches to the left, then I can get that monitor down. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I have the microphone, see this? It's on an arm and it's hanging right there. And the dexterity of the arm makes it so it really can't go right here. If I could get the microphone arm to be right there, then I could move this monitor down 5 or 6 inches, and the Acer logo would be right above where the webcam is, so I wouldn't have to stare at the ceiling to see the second monitor. This is the kind of thing a welder helps with solving. Okay. Can the boom arm make it to the other side of the monitor? I don't think so. Doesn't that light hurt your eyes? No, it's not too bad. It's kind of out of my peripheral. It's kind of just in the edge of my peripheral vision, dude. I put them high enough so they wouldn't be shining directly into my eyes, if that makes any sense. NASA might be back up. Okay.
Tomorrow, it's going to be database, and it's going to be to protect the hardware and to protect this program.
Okay.
May begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right,
I'm
let's
Rachel
listen up.
Kraft with NASA's Office of Communications.
We'll just start at the beginning.
Engineers completed a cryogenic demonstration test on Wednesday ahead of the next launch attempt for the Artemis I mission.
Yeah, Foz, we can do
Artemis
that.
I is a flight test to launch NASA's Space Launch System rocket and send an uncrewed Orion spacecraft around the moon and thoroughly test the spacecraft systems before missions with crew. We have several folks here today to talk about the recent test and provide an update on current activities. They are Tom Whitmire, Deputy Associate Administrator for Common Exploration Systems Development at NASA headquarters, John Blevins, Chief Engineer for the Space Launch System from NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, Brad McCain, Vice President and General Manager for Jacobs Space Operations Group, and we also have Mike Bolger, Exploration Ground Systems Program Manager from NASA Kennedy. We will have a few opening remarks from each of our speakers, and then we'll take some questions. Reporters can enter *1 on your phone to be entered in the question queue at any time. I do want to also note that teams are keeping a close eye on the weather, and we do also have Mark Berger, Weather Officer with Space Launch Delta 45 here to answer any questions about the weather forecast after our opening remarks. And with that, we'll start with Tom.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Yeah, we're excited to be here today. There's a lot of things going on. I was privileged enough to be here at Kennedy Space Center for the cryo demonstration test on Wednesday, and it was very interesting. I think we learned a lot. We accomplished all our primary objectives for the cryo demonstration test. We were able to look at the loading operations. We made a tweak in that, and I think we were successful after that. We did the kickstart. We did the pre-press, and we did a chill down, a stable replenish. And then during all those events, we actually monitored the vehicle and adjusted a few parameters, and that was all actually very successful. So we're excited about that. We have some good experts here. Of course, Dr. Blevins, as you all know, is going to talk a little bit about that. And I just want to make sure people understand Brad McCain, I've known Brad for a little while now. How many shuttle program loading operations did you do, Brad?
Yeah, I did 108 of the 135 shuttle missions, but close to 200 tankings. Cryogenics is where I started.
Yeah, so Brad's our kind of cryogenic expert. He's here to kind of keep us straight and work with John to provide you information. And then Mike Bolger is going to talk a little bit about where we are on the weather. We take this a step at a time. We have to watch weather and incrementally make decisions as we go along. We'll watch the direction, the intensity, and the timing of the weather pattern. We'll make the decisions when we make the decisions. So Mike will talk a little bit about that. But overall, we feel that we really got some great data from the test. We accomplished what we were hoping to accomplish. You saw Charlie talk about it afterwards. We were pretty excited with the information we got from the test. And with that, I'm going to talk it over to Dr. Blevins. He's going to talk to you, too, about it for a second.
This is not for DART, boo-boo.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
This is,
thanks for your interest
SLS.
in the rocket. I will report, as Tom said, that we had a very successful tanking test. All of the tanks of the vehicle, all four, fully topped off. We were able to do some things that we won't have to do again, dial in some things that we intended to do even on launch day that were left over from previous wet dress rehearsals. So it was a very successful day. I think all the secondary objectives were actually met, not just the primary objectives. And so it was a really successful tanking test. So I'm glad that we were able to fit that in on Wednesday with weather and everything. Also, the vehicle's looking good. The vehicle's ready for launch attempts coming up. We continue to look at life-limited items. We continue with high-definition cameras to scan over the vehicle to make sure that everything looks good, any of the TPS and all that. We also continue to do walk downs and just prepare the vehicle for the flight ahead. With that, I'm going to pass it to Brad McCain. As Tom said, he's not just a VP, he's a cryo expert, and so he's here to handle your tanking questions, but really glad to have his expertise the other day in the tanking test. Brad?
Thanks, John, and again, I'm glad to be here to talk about the cryo test as well. It's I never get tired of talking about cryogenics, and they probably get tired of me talking about cryogenics. But again, between the second launch attempt and the tanking test we did on Wednesday, I think that do want to compliment the team on doing a great job of making the necessary adjustments out in the field as well as the execution.
Success. Right. So, in other words, we've got a launch vehicle that is ready to go.
Yep.
And so, if we have an opportunity,
There's a good portion
we would
of
like
this
to
that's
launch it on Tuesday. Right now, we don't have a forecast that shows us with winds gusting higher than 74 knots coming across the Kennedy Space Center. So that's our plan A. But we know we got to pay a lot of attention to it, and we know we got to get the decision right. So we are going to be, again, iteratively collecting that data and then collectively making that decision. And whether it's tonight or whether it's tomorrow, it's going to be data-based, and it's going to be to protect the hardware and to protect this program that we're a part of. But ideally, we're calling it Plan A because the cryo test was a success. And right now, we don't have a forecast that violates our weather criteria.
Hey, Zah.
Thanks. Our next question is from Jody Grelnick with CNBC.
Hi, thanks. Yeah, so I'm wondering if weather is the potential threat here, and that's really the only major concern. Is there any chance of earlying it up to like Monday to try to get ahead of that?
No, I can answer that. We don't have the ability to move it up a day. So our attempt opportunity will be the 27th. And that's why we really want to, incrementally look at the conditions of the weather. We'll look at it again today at 5 o'clock and make a decision. And there's different opportunities. If
Charles, question?
are able to monitor the situation, we'll just have another conversation and we'll see where we're at.
Discovery,
but to answer your specific question,
the
27th would be the date that we would continue to target. If for whatever reason we're able to stay at the pad, but the weather doesn't look good on the 27th, then we would go to the October 2nd opportunity.
October 2nd.
But right now, we're mostly focused in on really kind of getting smarter about the weather. I'm not from Florida. Mike is, and so I'm from Washington, D.C., and the way we track weather in Washington, D.C. is we pick up the Washington Post in the morning, we see if it's going to rain this day. And so I actually am always amazed when I'm down here. These folks spend a lot of time here in Florida understanding weather patterns and predictions and directions.
In the middle
and
of
there's
the
different
day.
models that they follow. And there's just a lot of information to digest.
Okay, come on, let's go.
It's still a tropical depression number 9. It's not a named storm. We really want to continue to try to get as much information as we can so we can make the best possible decision for the hardware. And that's why we're going to wait. We'll have another conversation at 5 today, and we're just kind of taking it a step at a time. But I don't know, Mike, I think that's probably, you've been in here for a long time, that's pretty much standard practice for how we handle these situations.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Yeah, and the other thing is that at this point on Friday, it would be pretty hard to get to that Monday launch with the team has been postured and moving towards Tuesday all along. So I know there were some other range factors and so forth, but at this point, given where we're at, it would be really probably impossible to get to Monday.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Gina Sunseri with ABC News.
Yes, a couple of questions. What exactly are the weather constraints at a possible storm like this, the weather issues for staying at the launch pad? And then what's involved in taking it back to the VIB? I think you said earlier this week it would be 3 days.
So let's see, as far as staying at the pad, the wind, we want to see peak winds, less than 74 knots, and that's kind of the key requirement that we're tracking. Again, the rollback would be forecast sustained winds less than 40, so that's something that we're paying attention to also. Not sure if I've got any more to add to that.
Yeah, Dr. Blevins, do you have any thoughts? No.
No, I think Mike's got it. We've got a robust design, but we want to protect the vehicle, and so we're just going to look at what the forecast is and the assurance, the percent likelihood of that forecast, and certainly we'll have to make a decision over the next 24 hours.
These vehicles, if you have a higher wind, less than the criteria, then we will keep it at the pad. That's a standard practice for the industry. It's not something you roll back just to roll back. It's we really will look at the weather conditions and make a good decision based on the information we have. And right now it's just too early. All we can tell you is what we know, which is we're going to take another look at 5 and we'll see what we got.
Next up is Jay Blackman, NBC News.
Sorry, I was involved in the earlier screening issue, so if this was answered, I apologize. If the weather precludes you from Tuesday, is there a date that you're looking at, and how would that also affect the Crew 5 launch?
Jake Waring, actually my previous boss, Cassie Leaders, is in charge of the SOMD organization, and so my boss, Jim Free, and Kathy are in constant communications. We're going through all the different scenarios. This latest weather thing is new information for us, so we'll continue to talk back and forth and see where we're at. I think we really want to just take this next step to see where we're at, considering the condition of where we are with the vehicle. And so all I can tell you is we have a process that we've worked through. We look at different scenarios. It's an agency decision. We'll get the right people together within the agency to look at that. And then from us, we're really just trying to get to 5 o'clock today and see what the weather looks like this afternoon. So that's a great question. But I think right now we just want to focus in on where we are in the current situation. But I assure you, we've done this a lot. We've had previous conversations, and we'll make sure Jim and Kathy get together and we'll have that conversation once we get some more data. But we are protecting October 2nd, so it's certainly on the table as a planning date. But we'll also recheck with our folks over on Commercial Crew side.
Thank you. Our next question is from Eric Berger, Ars Technica.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for doing this. First of all, clarification, the 74 knots and 40 knots, those are gusts, not sustained winds, right? And then the second question, I guess, is maybe for Tom or John. The earliest reasonable arrival of tropical storm winds at Kennedy Space Center is sunrise on Tuesday. That's from the National Hurricane Center. So you're saying you just need 3 days, right, to go from tanking and launch configuration to reaching the inside of the VAB? And, if that's on that timeline, your people would be exiting KSC in potentially tropical storm conditions. So I'm just wondering, if tropical storm force winds potentially are there by Tuesday morning, are you really leaving yourself enough time with 3 days from making the decision potentially tomorrow, mid-morning, late afternoon, or afternoon? Thanks.
Hey, this is John Blevins, Eric. On the first one, there is a mixture. No, Mike got it right on the winds there. It is peak gust for the 74.1 at the pad, but it's sustained on the rollout, and those are knots, not miles an hour. And so, the 74.1, just to let you know where that comes from, it comes from the 180-day winds that we record over decades here at the Cape, and it's referenced to a 60-foot high level. And so, no, Mike got that right earlier when he said 74.1 gusts, and then 40 knots sustained on the rollback. We're certified for those. And you could actually slow down the vehicle and probably do more wind on the way back, but we don't want to do that analysis. We want to stay within the parameters that we've kind of set for that.
And then on the second part of the question, it's a delicate balance, right? Earliest possible, perhaps is Tuesday. I think more likely, if in fact this comes at us, the more likely is something along the lines of late Tuesday or Wednesday. We don't want to roll back if we don't have to. And so clearly the uncertainty of this storm makes this a difficult decision and makes the timing difficult as well. It may be that when we get to the 5 o'clock forecast tonight and we look at the forecast, that we feel it's the time to pull the trigger and to go ahead and put the rollback in motion. We hope it's not. We hope that that we're going to continue to feel like we've got some more time and that we can push the decision to Saturday morning. Obviously, the safety and health of our workforce is really important to us, and that's a factor in this decision that we make. So clearly, it's not simple. We would like to stay out there, and we were hopeful that, within this launch period, we're going to get another launch attempt, and that's why we're watching the weather so closely.
Our next question is from Emery Kelly, Florida Today.
Hey, folks. Thanks for doing this today. Just kind of a question possibly for John. If a rollback is necessary, and it comes to that point, considering that the fueling test went well and everything hardware-wise is kind of in place and situated, does it make you, I guess, maybe nervous isn't the right word, but nervous to roll back, and then you got to roll back out again and reconnect everything and reseat everything? Does that introduce more points of possible hydrogen or fueling issues later on, or are you pretty confident that the fixes that you saw working this week will kind of hold through a rollback and rollout? Thanks.
Hey, Emery. John Blevins here. Yeah, good questions. First of all, on the rollback, we've talked a lot about rollback, and I think I've expressed my desire not to do too many rolls, just because it is a broadband, a little bit of shaking. The vehicle's certified for more rolls. If we need to do that, we're going to do that. There won't be any, we're going to make a good technical decision on that based on the data, as Mike has said and Thomas said. But if we have to roll back, as far as, yes, we had a great tanking test. I don't think we should take anything away from that. It's another data point, certainly, if we roll back and forth and reconnect to the propellant lines. As far as the umbilical plate itself, where we replace the seal and everything, it stays in that position. I'm not overly concerned. I don't have that data. Let's just be clear. It's still a machine, and there are parameters that we're learning, and I don't think that the roll itself, looking at the frequency of that roll and look at the umbilical and its sensitivity, I don't think it'll have any effect. It's not on. Until you asked, it wasn't a big issue. We have talked about it, but it's not something that's specifically on my radar per se as a concern on rollback or rollout. I think the main thing for me is that we did have a great test. That we did meet all our objectives, both primary and secondary, and we understand how that seal works. And I think that is the reasons that we were having the issue, not anything from rollout or rollback. But it's a good question, and certainly if we have to roll out and roll back, there'll be some things that we do change, just some life-limited items that will be coming up in that case. But I'm not concerned about the leak with the roll per se. But good question, Emery. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Tom. Just to add to John's thing, if we do go back to the VAB, we will take that opportunity. We got to do some battery charging. We'll retest the FTS system. We'll do some stuff like that. So it will replace the battery on it. So we have some known things that we will do if we go back into the VAB. And so that's just to be clear. That's what we would.
Okay, thanks. Our next question is from Emily Speck with Fox Weather.
Hey there. My question is for John or maybe Mike. Is there any scenario where it's better to leave SLS at the pad, like even through a tropical storm and a hurricane? You're talking about 74 knots. Like, what is the max that you would potentially want to do that for?
Hey, Emily, it's a really good question. Actually, we're in the middle of conversations about what the best thing to do for the rocket is and hitting the launch opportunity and all of those things, both technical and programmatic, and balancing those. We do have a certified design with factors of safety to those peak gusts at the 60-foot level, and you probably know as well as anybody how that's generated. We have a conservative parabolic profile where all of the 180-day winds fall within that parabolic profile that we apply all the way up the vehicle. So those aren't just 74.1 knots at the 60-foot level. They're very high. I'd have to look it up to see what they are at the top of the vehicle. when we evaluate that, and we're certified with factors of safety to do that. I think, and of course, that's primary loads. Your risk could be other things that might be moving around in a storm like that. And so if we actually experience a true hurricane, it'd be my recommendation, that we consider rolling back. Usually the footprint of those things isn't as wide, for those high winds. And so I think really this forecast is really very important to us that we're going to be trying to get more detail on over the next 12 to 24 hours. But ultimately, we have a pretty robust vehicle, and we'll just have to keep looking at that forecast to see if we fall within our certified parameters. Mike?
Yeah, hey, Emily, the first thing I would say is maybe you can help us out with this. We're really looking for that forecast that's going to tell us.
Very online.
That's better
weather than we do. It was just we're going to get a really good, highly technical forecast at 5 o'clock. So we'll meet her.
And kind of just kidding, but what. And I think everybody recognizes that the forecast did change from Wednesday to Thursday to Friday, and so when we woke up this morning and the tracks looked worse than they had the previous 2 days, it really caused us to start to take a long, hard look at exactly what the right decision is, and that's what we're trying to do today. Hopefully, we have seen some trending of the storm, and you know it better than I do, but we've seen some trending of it moving west to east. So a lot of the models early on showed us going into the Gulf, and they were fairly disparate. We've seen over the past 2 days it moved further to the east.
Wasn't me.
And again, as you know better than I know, until that storm is formed, until we really know where that center is, until we understand the timing of that trough, there's a uncertainty. If it continues to trend to the east, and it curves, and basically, we stay on the left side of the storm, and it cuts through lower on South Florida, we're going to be in a lot better position. And so, if you were tracking stocks or if you're tracking storms, you've seen this move to the east a couple days in a row, and so maybe we'll see some more of that over the next several hours. And again, very dependent on the forecast that we got at 11, which I haven't seen yet, and the thing that we'll get at 5 o'clock, and we'll make the best risk-informed decision, like John Blevin said, based on technical, based on programmatic, and really, at the end of the day, we know we've got to protect this incredibly valuable asset, and we'll do that.
Our next question
and
is
I apologize. I forgot. We've also got Mark Berger on the line. He's not sitting in the room with us, so I should have let him weigh in on that one. My apologies, Mark.
No worries at all, but I think you hit the nail right on the head with that. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and as you mentioned, the track has pushed a little bit farther to the east, so while it is a threat to be watched, certainly, and watched closely, it's one also that we can manage as well.
Our next question is from Chris Gabhart, NASA Spaceflight.
Hi, yeah, I'm curious from the dual ops here of progressing down to rollback while also preserving and progressing the ops for launch on Tuesday. I'm curious. There was a specific umbilical in the shuttle program that had to be pulled, which would basically break and sever the connections with the ground. Is there a corresponding is there a corresponding cable, a corresponding bundle that once you go beyond that, it's basically like you've taken the vehicle off the pad and you have to redo all of the test connections? What's the equivalent point for that for SLS that you really wouldn't want to go past until you make the decision whether or not to roll? And on the 8-inch quick disconnect, again, I don't think I actually caught the answer to Bill's question, that the SEALs did the exact opposite of what they were supposed to at the beginning. The PAO officer called it a head scratcher, but then they started working. So can you sort of touch on how that is possible? And since you saw varying behavior with them, what is it that gives you confidence going into Tuesday that they're not going to leak in some other new way?
That's a good question.
Hey, Chris, this is Brad McKenna. I'll try to answer the first one. I think you were talking on shuttle, the locks and LH2 disconnect towers were connected to the mobile launcher for both commodities. So when you rolled off the pad, you disconnected there. So once everything else stayed connected when you rolled back to the VB. So once you did that and rolled back out, you would have to go ahead and sample the G and 2 helium commodities and and then go ahead and redo dew points and things like that before you reconnect. And that took time, as well as do all the electrical connections and umbilicals and things like that. So it took basically reperform your pad validations, which was a day and a half or so of work. So anytime once you disconnected and rolled back to the VB, there was a amount of work you would do there. And as far as the second question on 8-inch QD, the leak signature we saw the second time was different than the first. So totally different signatures. It was also, again, manageable by the way that we controlled the loading. So again, I'm not sure if it was who asked the question earlier. No, we have requirements and specifications and launch commit criteria and things, and that we live by on all these things. So rarely do you get a pristine, perfect system that has from a fluid standpoint, that has no leakage. So throughout the shuttle program, again, I go back on my history, on LH2 systems, we had leakage pretty much every single mission, and you never heard about it because it never violated constraints and never made the headlines. But we'd have 500 parts per million or 1,000 parts per million, and some weren't reported because it never exceeded the limit to report, and some were reported and we took non-conformances, but never exceeded safety plans and things like that. So we'll monitor the system, and if it exceeds requirements, we'll report them and respond accordingly. But John, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but
they already changed.
No, Brad, I don't have anything to add. Good detail.
I guess this is Mike Bolger. The one other part of the question that you asked about, again, what are the things that you can do to get ready, and just a couple things kind of come to mind. We asked our crawler team, hey, let's go make sure we're ready to go. Let's start thinking about when we got to position that crawler, when we want to roll it out towards the launch pad. So they're in the process of doing that. We're taking a look at the condition of the crawler way, making sure it's all ready to go. And so the team is looking at that. And the other things we're talking about are, can we do hurricane preps across other facilities around Kennedy, get those done early and kind of behind us before you might normally even get into them based on the HURCON conditions, so that we can free up as many resources as possible for the actual rollback opportunity and basically compress that timeline and get it done even faster than we otherwise might have. So we are taking a look at things we can do to kind of get ahead of the game, if you will.
Okay, we're going to take 2 more questions and then wrap up. Our next will be from Marcia Smith with Space Policy Online.
Thanks so much. I was wondering if Dr. Blevins could talk a bit more about how it is that the Space Force was convinced to extend the battery limit. It was a 20-day limit, and you got it extended to 25, and now it's been extended for basically 3 or 4 weeks past that. So what was it that set the 20-day limit, and how were you able to convince the Space Force that, in fact, it's good for many weeks past that? And is this a precedent now? Does this mean that for future launches that use that battery that you no longer will have the 20-day limit?
That's a good question.
Marcia, those are kind of insightful questions. Let me just say the Space Force owns the mission and the analysis, and we do the analysis they request as well as a lot that they do. And so they've done that analysis, and they have confidence in our system for this time. I don't want to go into any details because it's just not pertinent here. To give those kind of details and would be silly because there's just too many parameters that they look at for anybody to take that information and try to correlate it to anything that makes sense to them. So I'll just say that they've worked with us all along. This is not the first time that we've been working with them. We worked not just during the shuttle program, but on this program for years. So they're involved in evaluating our design, our qualification batteries, in the testing that we do. They sit on console with us, and so they're part of our team. And so they have an incredible mission, and they do a good job at it. And I'm really glad that we had enough information to provide the public safety assurance that they get to grade. And so that's all I've got to say about the FTS.
Okay, thanks, John. And our last question is from Stephen Young with Spaceflight Now.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah.
Hello, Stephen Young with Spaceflight Now. Just to follow up on a few things, and sorry if I might have missed the answers to these during the technical problems. With the FTS certification, what happens if you're not off the ground by the 2nd of October? And for rollback, if you had to do that, do you need to offload the hydrazine for the HPUs on the boosters? And if you do rollback, are we looking at November for the next launch opportunity?
Okay, I'm watching Mike Bolter as I speak right now. Let me take it from the back question to the front question. This is Tom. Our pre-plan approach for hurricane rollback, we do not desurface the HPUs. There's 4 gallons of hydrazine in each one of the power units that we use to power the hydraulics and the boosters, and those will stay in the vehicle as we roll back
they'll be
into
stable.
the VAB.
Okay.
In terms of our ability looking forward, I don't think we know yet in terms of what our schedule would be looking forward. Like I said, we've got to sort through. We're going to do the FTS battery change out. We're going to do some other battery charging activities. So we'll lay that out when we make a decision to actually roll back into the VAB. And so after that, we'll have a better idea of what our trip back to the pad would look like and what kind of dates we would target for that. Right now, we're literally mostly focused on the current weather reports. We have a lot, the agency has, and the folks here have a lot of practice on really working through those forecasts, working closely with our weather office, and then if we have to move up a decision because of a change, we'll move up the decision. If we have a little bit more time for a decision, we'll take a little more time for the decision. But this was actually fairly standard. I mean, I did the shuttle program for a long time, so I've watched this for myself. I watched it quite a while, and we're following the normal procedures, and we'll absolutely make the right call with this vehicle. And we feel that this afternoon we'll have another conversation on that. We're in constant communication with the folks. Mike and Charlie and team are in constant communication, and we just if I wish we were better at predicting weather absolutely 5 days in advance, and if I did, I would pretty much quit this job and go work for the Weather Bureau. But there's still some uncertainties in the forecast, and therefore we want to make sure we have an ability to get a little bit better definition. And then when we get that definition, we'll make the right call. I don't think Mike, have any. That's it.
Okay, that's all we have time for today. We did have some technical issues with our live stream for those not initially dialed in. So we will be posting a full recording of this teleconference as soon as we can on our Artemis blog. You can find that at blogs.nasa.gov/Artemis. And we will also be posting additional updates there. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us.
Thank you for participating in today's conference. All lines may disconnect at this time.
Is it still live? Any Sigma 6 questions? Ugh. Spare me. So yeah, guys, everything seemed to go good with the SEAL test from what I understand. I mean, there was a part of that press conference, that about 30 minutes of it, I think, that got cut out. But that Cities Today, Huber, I had some stuff that I wanted to finish in F1 Manager. What is Project Clippy? I'm not really at liberty to say. No, Eric Berger asked an interesting question. He asked if it takes 3 days to roll back and the launch is 4 days away, does that mean you have to make your decision in the next 24 hours? And then he said, isn't that cutting it a little close? Because, 3 days is 4 days. Yeah, 3 days is 4 days. Sure, why not? Should I look over my shoulder now? Nope. Clippy is something that Drummer and I are working on. There's a lot of background stuff that I do that I've been really trying to step up lately, guys. I have a lot of projects in the background, and that's part of the reason why I've been not streaming till 4 in the morning, because I'm working on those projects in the background. Yeah, Project Clippy is, I think you guys will like it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something... I don't want to really talk about it without Drummer here, but it's something that's going to make VODs and stuff a lot more easily accessible through other means. As in the garage. The garage is one of the projects that I'm working on. Yeah, Drummer's mostly working on it. I just kind of sit there and say, hey, do this, or hey, do that. Or Drummer says, hey, should I do this with this? And yeah, do that, please. Yeah, Clippy is a project of, I mean, it's mostly Drummer working on it, guys. Drummer's behind the scenes. I'm in front of the camera. That's really how that works. The racing rig looks sick, though. Oh, thank you. Thanks. Yeah, that's, like, I want to be clear because I don't want to undermine the work that Drummer does. Does a lot of, if not all of the background work for the stream. But I do have other projects. The garage is one of them. Clippy is something that Drummer's working on. And then this one is kind of a more long-term project, but I'll tell you anyway. We want to get a server set up in here. I've been talking about that. You guys know about this. I want to get a server set up, so basically a dedicated encoding rig that I can just like if I have a computer in the auto shop, as long as it's on the same network, I can just output the signal from that. Instead of outputting it to Twitch, we output it to the encoding rig, and the encoding rig is running OBS, etc., etc. And then the encoding rig, my encoding rig, or a server or something can just it'll upload the video. Any plans for more Railroads Online in the future? I don't want to play Railroads Online. The dev team folded, Driados. I don't too much drama, dude. I don't want anything to do with it. And it sucks because it's a good game. But yeah, Phil, that's another project that I'm working on. You can show that diagram if you want. Yeah. I don't know where it is, Drummer. Yeah, Hellfish, I want to be able to switch between the garage and and here. Like, I want to be doing auto streams to be as simple as changing a scene in OBS. That's how simple I need it to be. Any planned VFTs? I actually don't have much on the radar right now. Yeah, Driados, it's not dead. The project's still going, but the entire dev team folded, dude. That's the second time that's happened. It's the second time that's happened. The dev team has folded 2 times now in early access. The only guy that that's been staying on the project this entire time is the lead developer. Like, I don't mean to be a dick, and I wish Railroads Online all the best because it is a fun game. But dude, that's I'm not gonna sit here and say that that's a good sign. Yeah, there was a lot of yeah, dude, I don't know the extent of the whole thing, to be honest with you, but it's bad news enough, like, where people were being jerks to other people because, you know, life choices and stuff. Like, dude, it's a whole mess, dude. I don't want nothing to do with it. You know? Which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Like, I mean, the game's still there. You can still play it if you want, but I don't want to play it. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the latest Steam announcement? Like, dude, the dev team has folded 2 times, and the roadmap for Railroads Online looks amazing. I don't know. Maybe you go back to it later. Maybe. What is this saying? After the announcement about the new partnership with Astragon Entertainment, you have a lot of questions. We are aware of that and are going to post a summary of the questions and answers next week. So the most important topics are covered in one post. So you don't have to scroll through separate threads to find all the information. Yeah, Clayton, I have stuff like that planned. Astragon are the folks that have made a bunch of simulator games. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's, I don't know, man. It might be good, it might not. I'm just gonna sit it out for a little while. It really, we have other games to play as well. Hey, Urban Venture. Yeah, Aqualux, I don't really... I mean, high turnover at a game development studio is never a good sign, but hopefully they can bounce back. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna let that one cool off. Just leave it out on the windowsill, you know. Hey, Urban, what's going on, man? You guys know my buddy Urban Venture. He's a Kerbal streamer. Good Kerbal streamer at that. Now I gotta get back into that. But, yeah. All right, so NASA's press conference, it was fragmented, so I didn't really get the whole gist of it. But long story short, they're worried about that tropical storm. They're worried about it. But it really depends. The mission forecast is not ideal. Tuesday's launch attempt in the middle of the day looks to have 80% probability of violation. Cumulus cloud, surface electric, flight through precipitation. Basically, it's raining. There's lightning, and there's a lot of clouds. Cumulus clouds from 2,500 to 20,000. Alto cumulus clouds broken from 15 to 30. Yeah, that's a lot of clouds. Ground winds are going east, southeast, a little bit at 12 to 18 knots. 82 Fahrenheit temperature and humidity look okay. But yeah, scattered showers, visibility 7 miles. No upper level winds, low solar activity. But yeah, the cloud cover is going to be no good. It's not going to be good. You ideally really want to launch on a clear day so you can image the vehicle. So like literally you could take a picture of the vehicle when it's flying. So you don't necessarily just have to rely on telemetry. So they have that tropical storm that's kind of targeting the Cape. Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a rollback at this point. I want to send it just as much as the next guy, and it's really annoying because it seems like they got everything figured out, and it seems like they got everything all figured out and ready to go, and then, yeah, and then like, oh, here's a hurricane. It's like, I mean, even if it wasn't ready for the 23rd, if they do a rollback, the good news is that they can charge the range batteries, so they'll be good to go with the range. So I'm thinking October 2nd looks more and more likely. Yeah. Hurricane season. Yeah, he said hurricane season. I guess the Lamborghinis are coming. Go Fever can kill you. Yeah. Dude, it isn't even a question of Go Fever. I mean, Eric Berger is, as weird as that guy is, he is a weatherman. He's a weatherman by trade. So if he's talking about the weather, I actually believe pretty much anything that he says, because he's a weatherman by trade. He worked as a weatherman at a Houston affiliate for a Houston affiliate. I think it was for ABC, but I don't remember. Been the story of this program. Yeah, Rev. Unbelievable. But hey, you know, the harder the battle now, the easier it's going to be later, right? You know? Oh, well, that's a shame, Hellfish, but yeah. So, if Eric's talking about the weather on Tuesday being 75 knot winds in the morning, yeah, they wouldn't launch in that. Not because the rocket can't launch in that, because once again, you need this rocket to launch in ideal conditions. They don't want to roll back, but they can roll back if they have to. And it looks like they're going to have to. John Blevins said it better. He said basically what I've been trying to explain. Having that rollback in there is just another data point because you're going to reconfigure the vehicle. The vehicle goes into a different configuration every time you roll it back and forth because it bounces around. The metal fatigues a little bit. So it's just another data point that they have to analyze. It's going to take longer between Artemis I and Artemis II to analyze the data because they have to take into account that they've rolled the vehicle back so many times. They want to do that as little as possible to get it in as close of a configuration to what an ideal SLS launch would be. That's why your first test launch, when you're doing this type of testing, when you test the way that NASA does, the first launch, you want it to be near perfect weather conditions. The problem is you're not going to get that in Florida right now. Yeah, you hope. Rev, I honestly don't. If Blevins thinks, if John Blevins thinks a rollback is not going to affect the vehicle and it's just another data point to crunch, whatever. There's 18 months between Artemis I and Artemis II for this exact reason. Don't worry about it. I'm confident. I'm confident that the systems will work correctly. They got that hydrogen seal to seat on the carrier umbilical plate. I'm not worried about that. It worked. It worked at slow fill, low pressure, fast fill, low pressure, fast fill, high pressure, and then replenish at high pressure. When I'm talking about pressure, I'm referring to the pressure, the ambient pressure inside of the tank, the cryo tank on the pad. Dude, if it worked through that type of transient, it's going to work. It'll work again. I think somebody pinched the seal on that thing. The gasket probably got damaged a little bit. It's almost like a mobile VAB would help in this situation. Yeah, the problem is you making a 500-foot or 50-story building that's designed to encompass a launcher and rocket that has like the footprint of a baseball diamond is a little complicated. There's a reason why they made the VAB not move, because it's really, really heavy. That's hard to move around in Florida soil. Heck, SLS is hard to move around. SLS is the heaviest rocket. Even the Block 1, the crappy version with the ICPS up there. I say crappy, it's not really crappy. It's a decent stage for what it's designed to do, but you need the EUS. You need the bigger stage. Even the Block 1 version of SLS is the heaviest rocket ever. It's 8 million pounds. That is way heavier than a space shuttle, way heavier than a Saturn V. They had to take that into account. It's a heavy freaking rocket because of those 5-segment SRBs. That's what puts it over the top. I hope our hardships now make it easier later. I mean, I might be a bit late on the replies. Yeah, Rev, that's basically what I'm saying. Look, it's a pain in the butt now, dude. But you know what? You can't, right? You can't wash your hands of this. Be like, oh, it's so hard now. Screw it. Why do we even try? That doesn't work. This is just more data. This is just another hurdle to overcome. And they will. You guys will do it. I know you'll do it. I have faith. Absolutely. Despite what, Rev, despite what anybody else might think, I have faith. The engineering says that it's going to work. I'm not worried. I ain't worried about this. I wasn't worried for the launch attempts. Even when the seals didn't work, still wasn't worried. Because I know there's competent personnel working this thing. No problem. There ain't no problem. There's no drama here. Just launch it when it's ready. Simple as that. Now's the time to go slow. Now's the time to take your time. Now's the time to do it right. Right? Like, I have faith. You guys will be all right. That's not as heavy as your ex. Damn! Damn, man! Am I late or early for NASA? Late. John, long story short, the rocket's good to go. Rocket's good to go. They got an extension by the range on the batteries. There's the problem right in this area right here. Not here or here so much, but right here. Yeah, that's a problem. TD9 is an issue. Are they O-ring type seals? They're not rubber O-rings, T-Man. It's a ceramic seal from what I understand. A metal ceramic seal. Yeah, John, that's the big one. They're, guys, like I said, don't be upset when they announce tomorrow that they're going to roll back. I would roll back in this. Oh, absolutely. If I was calling the shots here, I would roll back. NASA's going to hold out as long as they can, though, but they got to make a decision by tomorrow morning. They got to initiate rollback tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning's the deadline, or the rocket literally weathers the storm. That's not good data for launching. It's It's not good test data. Roll it back to the VAB. It's not worth it. The amount of changes that you're going to make to the rocket by rolling it back to the VAB is nowhere near the potential damage that could be done from leaving it out in the hurricane. Screw that. Don't be surprised when they roll it back. Does it take 7 hours to roll back? Sure, Clayton, but yeah, they got to safe the pad, they got to undo all the commodities, they got to depress the fuel lines, they got to undo all the HVAC, undo all the electrical. That takes time. It takes about 3 days to do the whole thing. I have faith too. It's a first launch. It ain't going to be easy. I just want it to go smoother in the future. Yeah, Rev, I agree. But the data you learn now, guys, like, Rev, you could say I'm trying to spin it, and everybody else could say that I'm trying to spin it. The data that you have now, it's actually better. I'm just going to go outright and say it. It's better that this has had so many problems right now. The seals, the storms, the weather, the wet dress rehearsals, the boot coming off the ICPS. It is better that this stuff is happening right now, because that's stuff that you know that will not happen in the future. We have data on an SLS rocket that's rolled back and forth from the pad 4 or 5 times. So you know that if an SLS scrubs in the future, you'll know that rolling it back is not a problem, because you can prove it with data. Where NASA is inadvertently testing the trash out of Artemis I and testing all contingency scenarios. I would rather do this right now. I would rather do it right now, because right now it's not time sensitive. In the future, for an Artemis mission where you have to go meet a starship sitting out in lunar orbit, it might be time sensitive. So it'd be pertinent to have this information. Dude, I would roll that thing back 20 more times. If if the analysis said you could, I'd do it. Go to the absolute worst case scenario and then test from there, and then just adjust your results based off of that data. I mean, they don't want to do that too much, but we're doing that too much inadvertently. It's not a bad thing. More data on how the vehicle performs in different conditions through different phases of the launch campaign is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. This is a good thing. And like I said, it might seem like I'm trying to spin it, but now Thomas Edison with the light bulb, right? You can find 1,000 ways for the thing to fail, only to find one way that it works right. We've just ticked off some of those 1,000 ways here, so to speak. It's proverbial. There's a million ways that SLS can go wrong, to be honest with you. They're inadvertently doing literally what SpaceX does with Booster 7. They test the trash out of it, bleed the engines, they did a hot fire. They did 2 hot fires, right? They did one and it went for 5 seconds and then stopped, and then you got a full duration on the green run. This is all more data to make that vehicle 1,000 times safer. I'm actually like, dude, do I want a hurricane? Do I want SLS to get delayed by a potential hurricane? No, but that'll make the vehicle safer in the future. That's how I look at it, man. This is just another failure mode that you are eliminating off the list. You know not to do that. Or simultaneously, you know that an SLS core can be tanked 15 or 16 times and you don't really have to worry about it. You know that core stage can be tanked like 20 times, or not 20 times, like 10 times. And after 10 times, that's when you start seeing TPS cracks. Because that's basically what's happened. They tanked it a bunch of times on the test stand. They tanked it a bunch of times during the wet dress rehearsal. They tanked it a bunch of times during the launch attempt. During the launch attempts is right when you start to see cracks, right? So that gets you good data on really when the TPS, for instance, is going to start cracking. It's great. Good. NASA's the forces of nature are inadvertently making NASA test that vehicle like SpaceX. So you know what, man? Nobody ever faulted SpaceX for not having a robust testing regime. We good. In reality, the fatigue to stack, we'll see, isn't much of an issue. It's, as it is the weakest launch vehicle will ever be. The stupid amount of sensors they have can likely calculate exactly how strong it is. Yeah, it's just, the more times you roll it back and forth, Hellfish, the more you have to take that into account, and you have to adjust your analysis based off of it. But yeah, I think this is fine. It could be worse, man. It could have been like STS-1 where you launched it the first time and it worked, so you're good to go. Yeah, that didn't end well. See what I'm saying? No. Tested. I'm happy that, don't get me wrong, I don't want a hurricane to hit the rocket or anything, but I'm happy that all these challenges are springing up now. So Artemis flights in the future will be good. They'll be safer. you know? It's perfect, man. You couldn't ask for a better testing regime, you know? And, you know, people, right now, people can't get up NASA's tail. If the hurricane's going to hit the rocket, SpaceX wouldn't even launch in that, right? You can't say, like, oh, NASA's just dilly-dallying around. No. No. You can't even say that. It's the forces of nature, man. There's nothing we can do, you know? When is the launch? They're going to target the 27th, Linus, but I'm thinking October 2nd. So, like, you know, Rev, if you see anybody around down in the dumps, just tell them that, dude. And then tell them weird people on the internet are gunning, you know, rooting for you, not gunning for you. Yeah, man. I'm good. You good? I'm good. This is great. This is fantastic. Any Haster blend today? We could do it. We could Haster blend today. What is a hot fire? It's just kind of a slang term for testing the booster, for test firing the engines. Cities is your vote. I didn't finish what I was working on in F1 last night, so... But the reason why I didn't is because I wanted to finish this. Here, this is... I said I had some stuff to do in the morning. Let me tell you guys what I'm working on. So that's what the setup looks like now. But I actually moved this monitor down, and the microphone is right there now. Microphone's over here. I did that during the press conference, but that's the setup now. I did this so we can get a VR headset up and running. Aren't you on the last race? We're on the second to last race. We're racing Brazil. October 2nd is a Sunday. Yep, of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Bro, that's my Asus monitor up top. It's an Acer. I have 3 Samsungs and an Acer. This is from my old 3-monitor setup before I got the curved monitors, believe it or not. Last pulls. Last pulls. Last pulls. Pulls? For the Dodge? Dual clutch transmission swaps are a thing, and I'm here for it.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Uh-oh. What was that noise? Uh-oh. I think the VR headset timed out. So much desk space. Geez, yeah, gee, that's how I don't, like, have my hands hanging off like this. My keyboard is up here. It's like 2/3 of the way towards the end of the desk. The reason why is because I rest my forearms on the desk. No carpal tunnel that way. That was me, fellas. That was me. That was me. The boop, boop, boop was me. It's the VR headset shutting off. Yeah, I had that problem for the longest time, G. Yeah, you gotta... Sitting like this with your hands hanging off pisses me off, dude. I can't do that. I can't do that. It's so uncomfortable. Yeah, I need to have a big desk to put these big meat hooks over on the desk. Gotta be nice and comfortable. Nice and comfortable. But yeah, guys, that's I have the VR headset up. It is running, so did you try the improved ramen carbonara today? I didn't have time to make it, Hellfish. I've been out here working on the rig. And yeah, a bunch of stuff, dude. I have the keyboard literally under my monitor for that. Mine is pretty damn close to being under the monitor, yeah. Yeah, it's basically right at the head of the monitor. But, like, see, guys, I can reach all the way forward. But see, right where those Allen keys are, and my keys for the, that's the garage keys, and the keys to the F-250. Yeah, I keep that right there. It's my coffee mug. That's where I keep my drinks. Temperature, banana, Stream Deck, double mouse pad, secondary keyboards right there. It's a G15 Mark II, just in case anybody was wondering. The UPS is over there, and then behind there is Behind there is a lot of wires that I tried to cable manage. They're kind of botched up right now. I had to undo some things when I worked on the setup today. Yep, BF3 mouse pad. Yep. And then there's the Kerbal joystick, the Xbox joystick. There's my Switch. My Switch is over there, and then a light is on the end of the desk. It's the Chroma Nana. I don't know why Chroma's out. I have to configure my Chroma a little better, I think. But yeah, that's what I'm up to. I've been working on a second monitor mount and getting this thing out of storage. I had to unpack the thing and then mounting it. I have room to mount another one right here, but the light is in the way. I would have to figure out another place to put the light. I don't want to put it behind the computers because there's a mess of cables back there. It is partially cable managed. I do have stuff zip tied off, like all the monitor and power cables are all managed together, but all the USB stuff, like the keyboards and the mouses and the Stream Deck, are kind of ran out of time. Where's the SCE to auxiliary? It's actually to the right of the Xbox controller. It's right here. I'll just, you know what? I'll move that up here. Why not? Put that up here. Yeah, that's a good place for it. I just moved it right between the light and the monitor mount. It's right there. I need to know how you acquired that because I want one. How